How's it going, everyone? Today's video is something I haven't really done in a while, which is sit here and talk about some sort of Saab related news that came out. And recently I saw this posted on a Facebook group, so I decided to do a little bit more research on it. And there's a story that came out recently of a 1979 Saab 96 that was your stereotypical barn find, except it's not like it had been sitting for 20 years. It had been sitting since it was brand new, since it got delivered to its owner in 1979. So that means that it had a grand total of 7 kilometers or 4 miles on it. This caught my eye right away, and I thought it was pretty extraordinary. And the little story behind it, unfortunately, there's not a ton of details as to why it was sitting, things like that. But I do still want to show you guys some of the pictures, show you how well it cleaned up after sitting for over 40 years. And tell you what it was worth and the new owner who apparently bought it recently. One last thing before we get started, the new car I ordered should hopefully be here by the time you've already seen this video. Fingers crossed. If not, then I'll put a pinned comment, but it should be here by now, and that means that I'll be working on the reveal video as soon as possible. Just depends on how much time I have with my work schedule, but it'll definitely be a first priority because I'm very excited to reveal it on the channel. I'll link all these articles that I'm going to use here down below in the description box so you can read it for yourself and look through the pictures if you'd like. But this first one is from Auto Revolution, and they pretty much just do a brief overview of it. They provide some photos. I don't want to talk too much about this because the first thing I want to do actually is go to this Swedish auction site, which actually had the car listed at auction relatively recently. You can see the auction ended on January 24th. So I went ahead and translated some of this. Pretty much the car was valued at, or it sold for 250,000 krona, which is a little bit over $27,000. Quite frankly, I'm very shocked. I figured it would have gone for more than that. Now, I'm not saying it would be a six-figure car, but $27,000 for a untouched, literally pretty much brand new Saab. Now, it's not a perfect Saab, which you guys will see here in a minute, but $27,000 I thought was somewhat low. So they have the description here in Swedish, but if you scroll down, they also have it in English. So they talk about this being a unique barn find with a piece of Swedish vehicle history that has never been driven since the car was delivered and parked in the barn. It was delivered in 1979 and was discontinued then, and it's been outside of the world for about 42 years. One remark that they made is that the car has not been started. It's recommended that it needs a major service and overhaul, which makes sense, and I'll show you guys why here. So you want to look at some of the pictures. You can see just how well this car cleaned up. I absolutely love the color. It's called Acacia Green, and the interior just goes even better with it. You can see there's a little bit of rust and stuff on the wheels there. But the paint itself, I mean, it looks like a brand new car here just by looking at it. And there you can see a shot of the interior, just that green on green. I wish auto manufacturers today were still cool and creative with their interior and exterior color choices. It doesn't seem to be nearly as popular as it used to be way back in like the 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s. Like this car, the era this car is from. But I just think this green interior, I mean, look at that. That interior looks brand new. I mean, someone's only sat in that seat a handful of times, and that's just incredible to think about. There's a shot of the odometer. You can see 7 kilometers right there. It's just crazy to think about. Everything about this car is just extremely clean, with the exception of the engine bay. So you can see the underside of the hood looks fine, but that right there is really the issue. And I think that this right here might have been why it wasn't sold for as much as a lot of you probably think it should have been sold for, including myself. And if some money had been invested into this to sort of restore the motor, I'm sure it could have been worth a lot more money. But just looking at this, and it kind of makes me concerned seeing how the engine looks. What does the underside of the car look like? So there's no pictures of the underside, but hopefully the underside isn't destroyed and rusted. Hopefully it was parked like on a concrete pad or somewhere that wasn't going to get wet or anything like that. But you can see it is very, very rusted on the underside, unfortunately. But there you got a shot, maybe just a tiny little bit of rust starting to form right down there. There's a shot of the underside actually. We can kind of see here the exhaust is rusted, but the body itself actually does look pretty clean. There's some rust on the paint right there. Kind of unfortunate to see, but I guess that's just what happens when the car sits for so long. So that's all the photos there. They do have a video showing the car getting pulled out of the barn right here, which is pretty cool. They have some really weird music over it though, which is why I muted it. But they're checking the tires. They're obviously very flat, pumping those up. And then they dragged it onto the trailer here, so pretty cool. Looks like they got it all cleaned up, like I said. But these other two articles here kind of just go over everything I mentioned. It was apparently sold to its new owner relatively recently. Like I said, there's no information on the new owner where he is, but it looks like this car was located in Sweden, and for all we know, probably is still located in Sweden. This site here, barnfinds.com, even takes it to the next level in saying that we've certainly seen low mileage vehicles on this page, but 4 miles on the clock may take the cake as being one of the lowest mileage you've ever seen on a car that is this vintage. And I'd have to agree. I mean, I just went to Barrett-Jackson over the weekend, which is a huge car auction site or event here in Phoenix in the United States, and they had like the last Buick Grand National ever made, and that had like wrap over the steering wheel and the seats and all that still, and even that had like 30 miles on it. So 4 miles, I mean, it's just crazy. It was literally probably driven home from the dealership, if that, and just parked. So it just blows my mind that someone could spend that much money on a car and then just let it sit for that long. Who knows, maybe it was forgotten about, maybe the owner died and no one, ever thought to pick up the car. There could be a number of reasons, and quite frankly, none of them make complete sense to me. But there you have it, guys. I think this is just a really, really cool example of a vintage Saab, probably the lowest mileage Saab we've ever seen. Now, there were some stories of some Nevs 9.3s getting auctioned in Sweden, I think. I didn't really look into that too much, but I mean, in terms of the mileage alone, I mean, this has to be the lowest mileage Saab possibly out there. I mean, there's probably still a very select handful of other new Saabs out there still, but this one definitely is up there, and probably one of the oldest ones that still has this low of mileage. So there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I also do have a full suspension overhaul from Maptune coming for the 2.093. It's not the same system I put on my Turbo X, it's actually something different. So I'm super excited to try that out. So I'll also have a video coming on that soon. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.